When no one else would listen, Captain Sarah Chen stood before the massive viewing port of the exploration vessel, Defiant Hope, watching the stars stretch into lines as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. After 6 months of deep space exploration, her crew was returning to Earth with promising survey data from 3 new systems. It should have been a routine trip home, but the universe had other plans. "Captain, I'm picking up distress signals from the Vega system," called Communications Officer Lieutenant James Park from his station. His usually calm voice carried an edge of concern. Multiple frequencies, all broadcasting the same message over and over. Sarah walked to his station, her boots clicking against the metal deck. "Can you translate it?" "Working on it now. The computer is running it through every language database we have." James frowned at his screen. "Wait, I'm getting something. It's not in any known galactic language, but there are mathematical patterns that suggest intelligence." Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's chief medical officer and xenobiology specialist, looked up from his research station. His gray hair was disheveled from hours of study, and his weathered face showed the curiosity that had driven him through 40 years of space exploration. "Captain, if it's a new species trying to communicate, we should investigate. First contact protocols require us to respond to distress calls." Sarah nodded, though something felt wrong about the situation. The Vega system was well within known space, mapped and catalogued decades ago. How could there be an unknown species there? "Helm, set course for Vega Prime. Maximum sustainable speed." The journey took 18 hours. As they approached the system, what they found horrified them all. Vega Prime, once recorded as a beautiful blue-green world, was now a burning wasteland. Massive craters dotted the surface, and the atmosphere was thick with smoke and ash. Orbital defense platforms hung dead in space, their twisted metal carcasses still glowing red from recent weapons fire. "My God," whispered Navigator Lisa Rodriguez, her hands frozen over her console. "What happened here?" "Captain, I'm reading massive ship movements in the outer system," reported Tactical Officer Commander Alex Thompson. His military training kept his voice steady, but Sarah could see the tension in his shoulders. 12 heavy cruisers, Korthak design. They're maintaining a blockade pattern around the 4th planet. Sarah's blood ran cold. The Korthak Empire was known throughout the galaxy for their brutality and expansion through conquest. If they were here, it meant one thing: genocide. "Are there any survivors on the surface?" Dr. Webb worked frantically at his sensors. "I'm detecting life signs, but they're fading fast. There might be underground shelters, but not for long. The atmosphere is becoming toxic." "Captain," James called out, his translation finally complete. "I've decoded the distress signal. It says, 'We are the luminary of Vega Prime. Our world burns and our children die. We seek only to survive. Please, someone hear us. Someone help us. We have no weapons, no armies. We are healers and teachers. Do not let us fade into darkness.'" The bridge fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Sarah closed her eyes, thinking of her own daughter back on Earth. What parent wouldn't fight to save their child? "Set course for Vega 4, she ordered. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations." "Captain," Thompson warned, "those Korthak ships will see us coming. We're outgunned 20-1. Then we better be smart about this." Sarah activated the ship-wide communication system. "This is the captain. We've discovered a species under attack by the Korthak Empire. Earth Command hasn't authorized a rescue mission, and we're operating outside our patrol zone. Anyone who wants to object to what we're about to do can speak now." She waited for responses, but the comm channel remained quiet. Finally, Engineer Chief Petty Officer Maria Santos spoke up from the engine room. "Captain, my grandmother fled Earth during the resource wars. She always said someone helped her family when no one else would. Count me in." One by one, every crew member voiced their agreement. Sarah felt a surge of pride in her people. This was what made humanity special, not their technology or their weapons, but their willingness to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. They approached Vega 4 carefully, using an asteroid field to mask their approach. The planet was smaller than Earth, covered in elegant crystal cities that sparkled even through the smoke of bombardment. The luminary had built their civilization to work with nature, not against it, creating structures that looked more like grown formations than constructed buildings. I'm detecting approximately 3,000 life signs scattered across the planet, Dr. Webb reported. Most are concentrated in underground caverns beneath the capital city. How many can we fit on our ship? Sarah asked. In an emergency, maybe 800 if we convert cargo bays and use emergency life support, replied Chief Santos over the comm. It wasn't enough. Not nearly enough. But it was a start. Sarah made the hardest decision of her career. James broadcast a message to the survivors. Tell them we're here to help. Dr. Webb, prep the medical bay for refugees. Maria, start those modifications. Alex, plot us an escape route through the asteroid field. 2 hours later, their first shuttle landed on Vega 4. What they found broke their hearts. The luminary were tall, graceful beings with skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. They moved like dancers even in their desperation, and their voices carried musical tones that spoke of a peaceful culture built on harmony and understanding. Dr. Webb was the first to make contact with a luminary elder named Zoraka. She was young by her species standards, but the recent tragedy had thrust leadership upon her. Through a combination of mathematics, gestures, and emotional expression, they managed to establish basic communication. She says they never developed weapons, Dr. Webb reported to Sarah over the comm. Their entire civilization was built on healing and learning. They'd been sending out their knowledge freely to other species for centuries, sharing medical advances and scientific discoveries. They can't understand why someone would want to destroy them. Sarah felt anger burning in her chest. The luminary were exactly the kind of species the galaxy needed more of, and the Korthak were wiping them out for no reason except conquest. The evacuation took 6 hours of constant shuttle runs. Sarah's crew worked tirelessly, converting every available space into refugee housing. The luminary, despite their fear and trauma, helped however they could. Their innate understanding of biology made them natural assistants to Dr. Webb's medical team. As they loaded the last group of refugees, James received a priority transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Patricia Torres appeared on the main screen, her stern face showing disapproval and concern. Captain Chen, you are ordered to cease all rescue operations immediately and return to Earth. The Galactic Council has classified the Vega system as a restricted zone under the Korthak Peace Accord. Sarah felt sick. Admiral, there are innocent civilians here being murdered. We can't just abandon them. The Council has determined that intervention would destabilize the peace treaty with the Korthak Empire. The luminary are considered acceptable losses for galactic stability. Acceptable losses. Sarah's voice rose with anger. These are people, Admiral. They have families, children, dreams. How is genocide ever acceptable? Admiral Torres's expression softened slightly. Sarah, I understand your feelings, but you have your orders. Stand down and return to Earth immediately. Sarah looked around her bridge at her crew. Every face showed the same determination she felt. They had made their choice before this conversation even started. I'm sorry, Admiral, but I can't do that. We've taken on 800 refugees, and we're going to find them a safe home. Captain Chen, if you disobey a direct order, you'll face court-martial. Your entire crew will be charged with mutiny. Sarah straightened her shoulders. Then that's a price we're willing to pay. Chen out. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. Anyone who wants to transfer to a shuttle and return to Earth can do so now. I won't hold it against you. Not a single person moved. All right then, Sarah said with a grim smile. It looks like we're officially pirates. Helm, get us out of here. As the Defiant Hope moved toward the edge of the system, Sarah knew they were being hunted. Korthak ships were already moving to intercept them, and Earth Command would likely send their own vessels to bring them back. but they had saved 800 lives, and that was worth any consequence. Just before they jumped to hyperspace, Sarah opened a channel to broadcast across all frequencies, to Earth, to the Galactic Council, to anyone who would listen. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Defiant Hope. Today we found a species called the Luminary being systematically exterminated by the Korthic Empire, while the Galactic Council watched and called it acceptable. We refuse to accept that. We've taken on refugees, and we're going to protect them. To anyone listening who believes that innocent lives matter more than political convenience, join us. Humanity stands with the innocent, even when no one else will. The transmission cut out as they entered hyperspace, leaving behind a burning system and carrying with them the hope of a dying species. Sarah didn't know what came next, but she knew they had done the right thing. Sometimes that was all that mattered. In the refugee quarters, Zora Ko approached Dr. Webb, with tears of gratitude streaming down her luminescent face. Through their growing shared vocabulary, she managed to say something that would echo through the galaxy. Thank you for proving we are not alone. Where humanity draws the line. 3 weeks after the rescue at Vega 4, the Defiant Hope limped toward a remote asteroid mining station designated Epsilon 7. The journey had been brutal. Korthak pursuit ships had damaged their engines, and Earth command vessels were hunting them as wanted criminals. But Captain Sarah Chen's crew had managed to keep their precious cargo of luminary refugees safe. Epsilon 7 was humanity's most distant mining operation, so far from Earth that communication took days and supply runs happened only twice a year. If there was anywhere in known space to hide, this was it. The station manager, a gruff ex-military man named Captain Robert Nash, had agreed to help after hearing their story. Dock at Base 7, Nash's voice crackled over the comm. We've cleared out sections C and D for your people. My miners are good folks. They'll keep quiet. As the Defiant Hope settled into the docking bay, Sarah felt a mix of relief and dread. They had found temporary safety, but she knew this was just the beginning of their problems. 800 refugees needed food, medical care, and hope for the future. Her own crew was exhausted and facing charges of mutiny if they ever returned to Earth. Dr. Webb had spent the journey learning more about luminary physiology and culture. What he discovered amazed him. The luminary possessed natural healing abilities that went far beyond anything humans had achieved. They could accelerate cellular regeneration, cure diseases with a touch, and even repair damaged neural pathways. Captain, Dr. Webb reported as they disembarked. The Luminary have offered to share their healing knowledge with us. Zaraketa says it's the least they can do after we save their lives. Sarah nodded, though her mind was elsewhere. James Park approached with a worried expression, carrying a data pad filled with intercepted communications. Captain, we have problems. Earth Command has classified us as traitors. Admiral Torres has been relieved of duty for being too sympathetic to our cause. The new fleet commander, Admiral Harrison, has orders to bring us back dead or alive. What about the galactic situation? That's where it gets complicated. Our broadcast reached more species than we thought. I'm picking up chatter from across the galaxy. Some alien civilizations are calling us heroes. Others are condemning us for disrupting galactic peace. The Galactic Council is in emergency session. Sarah rubbed her temples, feeling the weight of command heavier than ever. Any word from the Korthak? They're mobilizing a full battle fleet, 12 heavy cruisers, 6 dreadnoughts, and a flagship. Intel suggests they're not just coming for the Luminary anymore. They see us as a threat to their expansion plans. The following days blurred together as Sarah's crew worked to establish a proper refugee camp within the asteroid station. The Luminary, despite their trauma, proved to be remarkable collaborators. Their natural empathy and healing abilities made them perfect for helping injured miners and maintaining the station's life support systems. Zaraka had become the unofficial liaison between the species. Her ability to learn human languages was incredible, and within a week, she was speaking English with only a slight musical accent that made her words sound like poetry. "Your people are remarkable," she told Sarah during one of their evening meetings. "We have studied many species across the galaxy, but none have shown such willingness to sacrifice for strangers." "We're not doing anything special," Sarah replied. "We're just doing what's right." "That is exactly what makes you special. Most species would have followed their government's orders or found excuses to avoid involvement. You chose to act when action was needed." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from James. "Captain, you need to hear this. I'm picking up transmissions from multiple human ships. They're heading our way." Sarah's heart sank. Earth Command had found them. How many ships? What class? "That's just it, Captain. These aren't Earth Command vessels. I'm getting signals from independent cargo ships, exploration vessels, even some civilian craft. They're all broadcasting the same message. We stand with the Defiant Hope." Over the next several hours, 17 different human ships arrived at Epsilon 7. Captains, crews, and even some entire families had left Earth space to join what the media was calling the Sanctuary Fleet. Each ship brought supplies, medical equipment, and most importantly, hope. Captain Elena Vasquez of the cargo hauler Freedom's Dream was the first to arrive. A veteran of the Outer Colony Wars, she had seen enough suffering to understand Sarah's choice. "My daughter's studying xenobiology at the Academy," Elena explained during their first meeting. "She sent me your crew's medical reports on the Luminary. These people could revolutionize medicine throughout the galaxy. We can't let them die." Dr. Martinez from the research vessel Pioneer brought even better news. "I've been in contact with sympathetic scientists on 3 different worlds. The Altarians want to offer the Luminary Sanctuary on their moon colony. The Beacons are willing to provide medical supplies. Even some members of the Galactic Council are quietly supporting our efforts." Sarah felt hope beginning to grow. Maybe they weren't as alone as she had thought. But their respite was short-lived. On the 5th day, long-range sensors detected an approaching fleet that made everyone's blood run cold. The Korthak had arrived in force, and they weren't alone. 3 Galactic Council peacekeeping vessels accompanied them, giving their mission an official sanction that chilled Sarah to the bone. 18 enemy ships total, reported Commander Thompson. "We have 17 vessels, but most are cargo haulers and exploration ships. We're outgunned 5-1, minimum." Captain Nash gathered all the ship commanders in Epsilon 7's main conference room. The atmosphere was tense but determined. These men and women had made their choice when they came here, and none of them were backing down now. "We can't win a straight fight," Nash said bluntly. "But we don't have to. This is an asteroid field. We know the terrain and they don't. We can use the mining charges to create obstacles, funnel them into kill zones. The real question," said Captain Vasquez, "is whether we're willing to fire on Galactic Council ships. That's an act of war." Sarah stood up, feeling the weight of decision on her shoulders. The Galactic Council stopped representing justice when they decided genocide was acceptable for political convenience. "We're not fighting against legitimate authority. We're fighting against corruption." The battle began at dawn. Station time. The Korthak fleet approached in standard attack formation, expecting easy prey. They found something entirely different. The human ships scattered through the asteroid field like schools of fish, using their knowledge of the terrain to appear and disappear unpredictably. The Luminary, working alongside human engineers, had modified several mining platforms into impromptu weapon systems. What the Korthak hadn't expected was the tactical brilliance of desperate humans protecting innocent lives. Sarah's fleet used mining charges to redirect asteroids into the enemy formation. They set up crossfire patterns that turned the Korthak's superior firepower against them. Most importantly, they fought with the desperate courage of people who knew they were fighting for something bigger than themselves. The battle reached its climax when the Korthak flagship, a massive dreadnought called Conqueror's Pride, broke through the outer defenses and headed straight for Epsilon 7. Sarah knew that if it reached the station, the refugees would be slaughtered. "This is it," she announced over the fleet communication channel. All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship. We stop them here, or we don't stop them at all." The Defiant Hope led the charge, followed by every human vessel that could still fight. They poured everything they had into that massive ship, knowing it would likely mean their own destruction. Just when the situation looked hopeless, space around the battlefield suddenly filled with new ships. But these weren't human or Korthak vessels. A massive fleet of alien ships had arrived. Altarians, Betans, Centaurians, and dozens of other species. "This is Commander Thex of the Altarian Defense Force," came a transmission that made Sarah's heart soar. "We have come to assist the humans in their noble cause. No species should face extinction alone." The tide of battle turned instantly. The combined alien fleet outnumbered the Korthak forces 3-1. Faced with overwhelming opposition, the Korthak commander ordered a retreat. The Galactic Council ships, seeing which way the wind was blowing, mysteriously developed navigation problems that prevented them from engaging. As the enemy fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Sarah found herself in command of the largest multi-species alliance in galactic history. Representatives from dozens of worlds had come together, inspired by humanity's willingness to risk everything for strangers. In the aftermath, as damaged ships were repaired and the dead were honored, Zarako approached Sarah with an offer that would change the galaxy forever. "Captain Chen, my people have decided to share our healing knowledge freely with all species who will promise to protect the innocent. We call it the Sanctuary Accord, a promise that no species will face extinction alone while others have the power to help." Sarah looked around at the diverse fleet that surrounded Epsilon 7. Ships from 30 different worlds, all united by a simple principle: that justice mattered more than politics, and that innocent lives were worth protecting regardless of the cost. "I accept on behalf of humanity," Sarah said, knowing she was speaking not just for her crew, but for her entire species. "And I think I can speak for everyone here when I say we're honored to be part of something this important." As news of the Sanctuary Accord spread across the galaxy, Sarah received a final transmission from Earth. Admiral Torres, reinstated after public opinion forced a change in policy, appeared on screen with a mixture of pride and exasperation. "Captain Chen, you've managed to start a galactic revolution, commit mutiny, and save an entire species all in 1 month. Earth Command doesn't know whether to court-martial you or give you a medal." Sarah smiled for the first time in weeks. "How about we settle for a full pardon and official recognition of the Sanctuary Accord?" "Done. Welcome back to the fleet, Captain. Earth is proud of what you've accomplished." 6 months later, the luminary colony on Altair Prime was thriving. Their healing centers had become pilgrimage sites for beings from across the galaxy. The Sanctuary Accord had grown to include over 100 species, all committed to protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Sanctuary Station, watching ships from dozens of worlds docking together in harmony. Zaraka joined her, her luminescent skin glowing with health and happiness. "Do you ever regret your choice?" Zaraka asked. Sarah thought of her daughter back on Earth, who was now studying to become a xenobiologist inspired by her mother's actions. She thought of the crew members who had stood with her when it mattered most. She thought of the thousands of luminary children who would grow up free because a few humans had decided that justice mattered more than orders. "Never," Sarah said firmly. "This is what humanity is meant to be. Protectors of the innocent, builders of bridges between species, and proof that sometimes doing the right thing is more important than doing the easy thing." As if to emphasize her point, another ship emerged from hyperspace. This one carried refugees from a species called the Kelari, fleeing persecution from their own government. Without hesitation, Sanctuary Station dispatched rescue ships. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When innocent lives were at stake, humanity would always draw the line and say no further. And increasingly, they weren't drawing that line alone. In the end, that was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not their technology or their weapons, but their unshakable belief that every sentient life had value, and their willingness to fight for that belief even when no one else would. The Sanctuary Accord continued to grow, and the galaxy became a little bit safer, one rescue at a time.